Welcome to Real Estate Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters, sharing proven strategies to help you build a better business today. And here is your host, Keith Doherty.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker Perry-pentiuk of Venture Property Incorporated based out of Leland, Michigan. Perry has been negotiating and closing real estate transactions for his buyers and sellers in northern Michigan since 1980. In 2015, Perry set yet another Leelanau County sales record, personally closing more than $1 million plus sales of anyone in the entire Traverse Area Association of Realtors, MLS, and outsold two other national brand brokerages combined, entire offices, in Leland, Michigan by $5 million. Perry's impressive track record has earned him the title of Leelanau County's #1 broker. He is the only member from northwestern Michigan inducted into Who's Who in luxury real estate, opening his listings up to a unique global subscriber base. All right, excellent. Well, after that very impressive introduction, Perry, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Keith. Thanks for having me.
I guess, Perry, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew that you wanted to do, or did you maybe kind of stumble into it?
You know, I used to work at my grandma's house for, years ago when I was a little kid. She'd have me doing all kinds of chores around the house. And actually, we'd go in and have lunch together. And she loved to buy and sell real estate. And I was fascinated by that. And I thought, someday I want to do that. And so really it was her. She was my inspiration. She used to, go in and fix houses up and paint them and clean them up and mend the awnings and turn them. So that kind of started my fascination with the whole world of real estate.
Excellent. So it's almost like you were kind of raised up into it, not by, on purpose, but that's what you kind of mirrored what you saw happening.
Exactly, yeah. I always admired my grandma a lot. She was really a wise owl, and and she had done real well with it. Actually, she had a lot of different houses she had bought and rented and sold, and even gas stations and things like that. So, yeah, it was just fascinating to me that you could do that. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do that someday.
Excellent. So, could you maybe talk about some personal attributes, some traits or qualities that you think have most contributed to the success that you've had, and maybe talk a little bit about how you developed those?
So I think so, absolutely. In 1980, when I got into the business, Jimmy Carter was in office, President Jimmy Carter, and interest rates were 19%, and it was really tough to do a deal back then. So I learned fortitude, just going forward and getting it the hard way, and so I kind of overcame that, and then God actually led me a lot of times in all the deals. I pray about my deals and stuff, and if they're supposed to happen, they'll happen with Him as the guide anyway. So, it's been great.
Excellent. And could you maybe give us an example or specific examples of when your traits have played a role towards your path in your success?
I would say when I first started Venture Properties, actually it's probably my clients, a lot of clients that really helped me the most. My first client, I was working out of a garage, and this one gentleman who knew every real estate, he was a developer, he knew every real estate broker in town. He gave me an opportunity to sell his house, and it was the most expensive sale ever on Old Mission Peninsula. And so he had the confidence in me. I had a program I laid out for him, and it really gave me a boost into the business. Everybody said that house would never sell for that kind of price and everything. And 3 months later, I had a sales record. We had it closed, and he had the confidence in me, and this guy called me every morning at 8 o'clock. And he said, "Perry, what are you doing for me today?" And it really put me on guard and made me realize that I really do have to answer to these people, on a regular basis and do what I said I was going to do. So he gave me the opportunity, and since then I've been able to build a business in high-end local real estate that's, I'm blessed to say it's unmatched. So I'm very, very fortunate. I seem to get the sales records and the higher end properties. So I would say it's my clients that have really given me that start in business, and they continue to maintain me in that manner. So
Excellent. Yeah, it's almost like he kind of groomed you and brought you up a little bit by kind of keeping you, on track not that you weren't, but it forced you. You didn't have a choice. This guy was calling every day, and he wanted an answer of, what were you doing to help move things forward.
Keith, that's exactly right. He would. I knew I was going to get a call every day at 8 o'clock, and he wanted to report on what I did yesterday and what I'm going to be doing today. And so I had to point to those things and say, hey, I did this, 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 and this, and it was great. And then, when I got the sale, that made a lot of news in the real estate industry with all the other real estate agents and brokers. So it kind of gave my new business a real credibility, and that was a real blessing.
Excellent. And obviously, as you've built your business and had success over the years, there tends to always come, there's going to be issues. People, it's always not, smooth sailing. So maybe could you talk a little bit about some of the major adversities or trials that you had to overcome in order to, keep moving forward and achieving your goals?
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, that first couple of years in the business when interest rates were so high, and then we just recently, 5-6 years ago, came through a real estate depression. So those were really tough times. And then just the daily grind of real estate. Every deal gets real busy around here in the summer season. That's when I sell the most, and that's when I get a little frenzied. And you get all these deals, and it's a blessing to have the deals, but they come with a lot of stress. And so when I lay down at night to go to sleep, my head's turning, and I literally can't get to sleep because I'm thinking of these deals and the problems, and mold in this one inspection, and a problem with the property corners and another one. And that's when I just kind of say the prayer, hey, Jesus, I need some help here, buddy. I'm simple. You made me, and I need some help getting to sleep. And boom, sleep like a baby, get up, and in the morning, all of a sudden, everything seems to fall into place.
Excellent. And I guess, what keeps you going? What kept you going besides, despite the obstacles, why don't you give up on things? What's your driving force?
I think I have a fun time with these deals because they do come with a lot of issues. And so it's fun to be able to walk people through them and get them to the closing table where you see their smiling face and that handshake of reassurance that everything worked out. And then it's not bad getting commission checks either. That's a beautiful thing. So that always helps. So I think those things have really helped me along the way anyways.
Excellent. And kind of looking forward, I guess, a little bit, where do you see the vision for your business and your career, say, over the next 5 years?
Well, it's changed an awful lot. In 36 years in the business, we didn't have computers early on. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, there weren't even analog brakes on cars. So you can imagine back in '80, it was a different business than it is today. You'd have to haul around these huge multiple listing books that were 9 sections big and go to the index to look them up. So in the last 5 years, it's really changed a lot. I'm fortunate enough to be a big prescriber for some of the different sites like yours, Top Agent, and Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, Realtor.com. It's important. The media content is so important. So professional photos, drones, getting things out there. So when I put something up, Keith, I like to have it ready to go. Just absolutely ready to go, because the first impression can either make or break a sale. So a lot of it is just people driving around with their tablets or their iPads or their telephones searching for properties. That's where the whole new media comes in. So it's extremely important to be a part of that.
Excellent. And I think you kind of touched upon some of this, but if we could kind of maybe tune it a little bit down here, what do you feel the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
One of the things is that when you call me, you get me. I'm not a part of a team or anything like that, so I don't even have a secretary. I think people like that. They like to be able to pick up the phone or text me or however they're going to reach out to me and know that they're going to speak with me. And I've noticed that things don't get lost in the translation that way. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the real estate teams in the area, but a lot of times I'll talk to one of them and go through the entire transaction, what we need to do to get this thing, continuing along or moving along or get through inspections or whatever. And then somebody else in that team will call me and ask me the same thing. I say, hey, I just went through this whole thing with, one of your team players here. So the fact that I can kind of see things through on my own really helps because I grasp that and, try to figure out a way to come up with a solution so that we can, move things along and keep things flowing.
Excellent. And I think sometimes when it comes to agents and real estate in general, that there's a lot of misconceptions that people, I think the barrier to entry is pretty easy. That people pretty much can go, take a little bit of training, pass a test, and, there's that side. And then I think on the, a seller side, a homeowner side, they just think, well, maybe this day and age I can just throw a sign up. I'm going to sell my house. It's no big deal. They don't understand all the legal ramifications and everything that an agent actually brings to the table, or a broker like yourself. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with real estate agents?
Oh gosh, I think you mean sellers working with agents?
I mean, either way, I think on the seller side, it's more of a misconception of what they perceive of your value or what you actually bring to the table.
I would say one of the most important things is once you've got somebody in the door with an interest, knowing how to handle that buyer and the seller is just absolutely key. So getting to know the property is important. So you can answer the questions of a buyer while you're on site. So a lot of times, no matter who's showing one of my properties, I'll be there and stand in the background, and I'm there to answer questions, putting people in a better position to make an offer. So if you can answer those questions and maybe point out some of the features of the property while you've got a ready, willing, and interested buyer on site, that can make all the difference in the world. Absolutely,
yeah. I think it would because, like you said, that agent may not have the answer, but if you can solve it right there where you have somebody in that, a lot of times people make decisions when their emotions are higher. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but if they're excited and there's this one little, question that's on their mind and the agent's, I'll reach out to the other, the broker or the agent and see but if you're right there and say, oh, well, no, here we go. I'll tell you exactly why that's like that, or here's how you can change that, or here's whatever, then you could probably capitalize, like you said, and bring an offer to the table versus, well, maybe they go look at another house and then they're off in a different direction.
You're absolutely right, Keith. So yeah, you have to have the knowledge, and if you don't have the knowledge, you have to use a professional. A lot of times I'll have properties appraised, surveyed, everything right up front so that, you're not leaving a lot to guess. You want the survey? Here it is. How did you arrive at the price? I used a professional appraisal. And yes, you're welcome to a copy of it if the seller will allow that. So it answers a lot of questions. I think of this one house that I was selling. I walked in the door and I didn't know what it was worth, and I'm supposed to be the expert in the area, right? I said, gosh, guys, it could be worth from $2.5 million to $3.2, and that could be a $700,000 mistake on your account, and I don't want to do that. Let's get it appraised. We had it appraised. It appraised at 2.625. We listed at 2.595, and within a day I had a buyer in there, and the first question they asked is, after commenting on how lovely a house is how did you arrive at the price? I said, I'm glad you asked. We had it professionally appraised for $1,000, and here's what it appraised for. They said, no, we're ready. Let's make an offer. We want to buy this place. And so it was just that comfort that they had, that they weren't overpaying for something, and that it had been well represented, And believe me, Keith, I make mistakes all the time. But what I like to say is I admit the mistake and move on. I admit it, try to correct it, and move on. But I do make a good number of mistakes. So.
Well, I think it's great to have that firepower, like you said. Like, oh, where'd you come up with this price? Did you guys? Well, no, actually, it was professionally done. Our hands weren't even on it. We had nothing to do with it. It was professionally. That's why he's certified, and that's why he gets paid to deliver, an appraisal. And here it is. Here's the paperwork, that we spent $1,000 on, and they don't have to get it appraised now. It's done. It's already, So I think you'd save time on the closing, and like, hey, we've already done the upfront work. We're ready to go.
Actually, with Dodd-Frank, it doesn't work that way. So that new act, yes, it helps for sure. But in that case, these folks, went to their bank, and then you have to hire a whole nother appraiser. But that appraiser comes in, and they're more comfortable because it was just appraised. I have dialogue with them, and they appraise it all over again, on the buyer's dime. And 99% of the time, it's the same number that we appraised it at. So it's another way to move it forward, if you know what I mean. But the problem I have is when an agent just starts out in the business and they're supposed to be the pro at doing market evaluations, and they're coming out and they're telling somebody what their house is worth, and they've only been in the business 6 months. I've been in the business 36 years, and I don't even want to tell you. I want to have a layer of professionalism in there and say, hey, here's the appraisal. You can put it in your file if you like it. We can use it, but it's theirs. They own it, so they can do whatever they want with it. But it does help moving deals forward 90% of the time.
Excellent. And let's take a look at a hypothetical situation. Let's say you get a call from a family member in another state. They want to sell their home. What advice would you give them for them to be able to select an agent? Kind of like you take care of your people. What would you tell them to do? How would you tell them to go about finding the person that could best take care of them and serve their needs?
Well, in top agent, I'd look for somebody that's a top agent. I'd go with somebody that is noted to be a professional in that area, and maybe they pick the top three and interview them. Have all three out to the property and interview them and see who's a good fit. I mean, there might be three people that do the same amount of business, but, your personality just clashes with them. So when you're already comparing in the top three, then I'd say go with who you're most comfortable with.
Excellent.
You're going to be married. Yeah. In a sense, you're going to be married. You're going to be married to them for up to 6 months, maybe 8 months. So. And you're going to have this dialogue going every day like we talked about. So you've got to know that your personalities, work well together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I mean, you may have three top producers that can all get the job done, but who do you want to, like you said, who do you want to be in a relationship with over the next potential 6 months? That you don't want to be with somebody that you're going to be like, oh, I just can't. I don't even want to deal with this person, right? So I think that's great advice to try to do. The personality match, make sure it's somebody you want to work with and hear from, whether they can get the job. Obviously all three can get the job done. So
exactly, you got it.
So Perry, if somebody wants to learn more about you and what you can do to help them, especially if in the area. Now you're in the Leland, Michigan area. Where's that general? I guess to give people an idea of the area you cover.
So we are in still the lower peninsula of Michigan. About 250 miles northwest of Detroit. So Leland is just beyond that, about 25 miles from Traverse City. So Traverse City, Michigan has a great regional airport with great connections and everything into New York and Minneapolis, Detroit, Chicago. Leland is just north of there. It's a resort community, started out as a fishing town, and we've got beautiful shorelines there. So we've got Lake Michigan and Lake Leelanau, and literally you can put a cup in the water and drink it. It's that clean. On the Leelanau Peninsula, the Sleeping Bear National Lakeshore was voted most beautiful place in America in a Good Morning America poll of over 3.5 million people. So it's just a beautiful area. We have obviously beautiful shoreline, and we've got vineyards and hops farms and microbreweries, and we've become a real food mecca. It's just great. It's a beautiful area. It's real clean living.
Excellent. And Perry, if somebody wants to find out more about you and how you can help them, where's the best place that people could go?
Ventureproperties.net would get you right to my website, and I've got a pureleland.com website also that both of those would get right to me, and it would have a full biography of kind of what I'm all about.
Excellent. Well, Perry, I want to thank you for taking time here to talk to our listeners today and to share your business experience. And if anybody wants to learn more about Perry, like you said, you can go to ventureproperties.net. We're also going to have a link below this interview with his website as well as any other contact information that we have from Perry. And with that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks so much, Keith.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading real estate industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at realestateinnovatorsradio.com today.